Oh my gosh, a lot. And we are both members of the Brighton Business Builders. That is an amazing networking group that meets in Brighton, Colorado on Thursday mornings. And next week, Gretchen is going to be presenting for our group. So, Gretchen, I just want to introduce you and your business to get started. I know that you're the marketing gal and you work with your husband, who's the lawyer. How does that work? How do you guys do that? And I know it's been quite a while that you've been running this business together.
It has been a while. So Joe started the business back in 2011. He had worked for a large law office, personal injury law office, since about 2004. And it was great. It was a lot of really great experience. He got great experience trying cases, and it was small when he started. So he was involved in a lot of the decision making and a lot of pieces and parts that with a large firm you don't maybe get to do. So he was very much involved. Well, then it got so big that he felt like the people started becoming just numbers to the firm instead of the personal case files anymore. And he has a very strong belief that if a case deserves to go to trial, he wants to take it to trial instead of just settling. And he's willing to fight the fight for people. So he decided that he could do it better on his own and make the decisions on his own. And so he left and started his own firm. And at the time, I was home with a 2-year-old. No, maybe, wait, what did I say? 2011. So 4-year-old and a 2-year-old. And I was a stay-at-home mom, and I loved it so much, and it was great. And when he said, hey, this is what I'd like to do, I was all in favor of it. You just buckle down and you realize you're probably not eating out quite as much and you're not going to the zoo quite as much with these little ones. But it was super important to me to stay home with our kids. And so I maintained that until our youngest, Jack, went to school. And when he went to school, I had volunteered for a year in their classes. And then Joe had asked if I'd be willing to come on a part-time level to do the marketing. And I had staffing sales background. And so it sounded interesting. And I thought, oh, well, he doesn't come home and tell me anything about the firm. He doesn't tell me anything about the work that they do. So I thought, oh, this could be a great opportunity for me to actually know what he's doing on a daily basis. Because his thought was, I work all day. I just want to come home and enjoy my family. I have to talk about
Yep. And how do you like knowing what he does on a daily basis?
what happens sometimes is that we'll be at a party or hanging out with our good friends, and they say, hey, tell me about what's going on with work. And he has these big, long stories about what is happening at work. I don't get those big, long stories because my job is I'm out visiting clients and our referral partners. I'm not ever really in the office. So I don't know the specifics on cases or clients and things like that. I know a lot more about how many kids our referral partners have, when they have babies, what their dogs' names are, when their birthdays are, when their anniversaries are. And so that's kind of my world. And his world is knowing the tragedy of the cases and how it affects people. So anyway, it's just, I thought this would be a good opportunity for me to find out a little bit more about what he does on a daily basis. And I was ready to go back to work in some capacity. And it just seemed like a natural, good move for our family that I would work with him. And so I've been doing that since 2016, I think, when I started with the marketing. And I've been doing it the whole time on a part-time level, and I love it. It's exactly what I enjoy doing, just visiting people. I'm kind of a chatter, so it's easy for me to go in and talk to people and find out what their business is about and how they help people who are in pain or have been through a tragedy that they need to be put back together. And then it's a nicer, softer sales process, in my opinion, just to get to know these small offices. And I have found that these small chiropractic offices that we really work with are just a natural fit for us because we keep our office small. We have 2 attorneys, Joe and Tara King is the other attorney that's been on our staff since we've opened. And then we have 2 paralegals, Natalie and Angela. and they're wonderful. They're wonderful with our clients. They're wonderful with Joe on a litigation level. So we keep it small on purpose because Joe wants to handle every case. So we're celebrating 13 years, I think, right here at the end of March, which is pretty exciting. And it works really well for us. It works well for our family. We have two very active boys in sports. And so if they have a 4 o'clock game down in Aurora, we're able to make it. And that was one of the other reasons that Joe knew that he wanted to, as the boys got older and got more involved, he wanted to be able to make sure that he wasn't tied to a desk by somebody else and that he could take the time to be a dad and coach and be involved and not have to say, "Ooh, I have to work till 6 o'clock" or something like that. It's worked really well for us.
That's awesome. Because he's coached your son's teams for a while, right?
Yeah, he has. He's not doing it right now. He's just managing the actual team. He started a basketball team a few years ago called Colorado Vice, and we found some awesome coaches who are coaching the boys, which at some point that probably works better, that they listen to other people better than they listen to their dad.
What? No.
How that works.
Yeah.
So it's been really fun and we love it and the boys love it. It's a huge piece of entertainment to watch the boys play and probably just as expensive as going to a concert every other weekend.
If not more expensive, it can really add up, can it?
But it's fun. It's really fun.
Yes. And so you have been a member of the BBB now for how long? 2017? I feel like that's when I took over, 2018 maybe. And I know that
Well, that's about right because
yeah.
Dr. Jim Campbell was the one. So lovely Dr. Jim Campbell had introduced me to the BBB when I did a cold call to his office. He's like, "Hey, do you know this group?" It was when they were still meeting at the IHOP.
Oh yeah, so longer than me. So then it might have been early 2017.
Probably
Wasn't allowed to be in the group then.
You weren't.
I was still in hotels and we were 100% exclusive then. And there was already a hotel involved. So at that time, I wasn't out in the group. I joined the group when they moved over to the other breakfast place that's by the roundabouts. And we
Oh,
were in that little room.
I think back to when we were at IHOP. I think we had maybe 10 people around the table, right?
When I joined, it was probably about 7 to 10 people. There was 5 to 7 that showed up religiously. You could always pretty much count on them being there. And then there was a few that were most of the time.
It's crazy. It's definitely changed in the last, what'd you say, 2017?
I
So
think 2017,
years for sure. That's great.
Oh, well, and we went through COVID and we survived that. So that was barely, but we did. And now you and Brian are killing it. So for those of you watching that don't know, killing it in the manner that they're both running it very, very well. I didn't mean they were like, you should have wore the t-shirt. I love that t-shirt. Oh,
when you do this with Brian, you should tell him that there's required wear.
Yes, he should have to wear the t-shirt. He's got to fill out the presentation form first, though. Sorry. So anyway, you joined because of Dr. Jim.
Yeah.
And then what made you stay? What's your favorite part of the group?
Obviously, the relationships, the people. So one of the reasons I joined, we lived in Reunion at the time, and and our office has always been in the downtown area. And downtown's just in my opinion, a really big, scary market to break into. You have a lot of big name law firms down there. So I was trying to find a place where I could nestle in and break down the walls of a community. And Reunion wasn't it, and Commerce City wasn't it for me. So I thought, I'm going to check out this Brighton area. And Dr. Jim had invited me to it. And I thought, you know what? I think that these people are lovely and they're kind and they're welcoming and they're supportive. And you just find that even more so when you go to these weekly meetings and people are happy to see you and happy to do business with you. And that's the thing. It's not a BNI group, right? So I am a sales driven person in terms of numbers. I understand that relationships far exceed just quantity of leads. And this group does that very, very well. Just get to know each other and share business organically. And I think that's the biggest thing, BNI, where you're just passing whoever the newest lawyer is in the group, that's who you're passing the business to.
Yeah.
It always makes me a little bit crazy after someone leaves a group. And I don't know, people might not like this, but after someone leaves a group and then they're like, oh, we have a new injury attorney. We're just going to give all the new business to the personal injury attorney that's now in the group, when you don't really even know they are, but yet you've been passing business to the last personal injury attorney because you really trusted them and you knew them, but now I'm not going to give them any new business.
Yeah. I know what you mean. It's like a sight out of mind. If you leave the group, sometimes those businesses, you basically they're dead to you. It's terrible, but it's true. Yeah. I've absolutely experienced that with other groups for sure, but BBB is not that way. Like, I still talk to people that were in the group that are no longer. And I think that we do really well with building the relationship piece of things for sure. Like relationships.
I think so. And I was just going to mention that I know it might have been unpopular at the time, but last year, Brian and I introduced and welcomed 2 business lines coming in, because I am a firm believer that probably every single one of the referral partners we work with have at least 2 attorneys that they recommend their patients see.
Yeah.
I recognize that Lapham Law may not be the firm for everybody. But the law firm might be a better fit for them, because maybe they want the suit and tie guy. Joe is not a suit and tie guy, right? He's going to show up in a t-shirt on a Zoom call to talk to the intake of the new client, and he's super comfortable. Maybe somebody wants somebody who comes out with a suit right out of the gate. Well, that's fine, but that's not us, and you're going to find somebody who that is. Yeah. I'm just a big believer that there's enough business to be shared for everybody.
Oh, absolutely.
If we know 2 roofers, I'm going to give you the names of 2 roofers because I like them both.
Yeah.
I only know 1 roofer. I actually know a lot of roofers, so I'm going to give you a couple.
Yeah, and some that I think are going to work for you, that you'll like, and then availability and all of the things, right? Like all the pieces. Yeah, I totally agree.
Yeah, that's why I like the BBB, because it is more on relationship. And then if they call you, then you're the one to kind of on the rabbit hole of the sale and all that sort of thing.
Yeah, agree. I do. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about your presentation. I don't want you to give it all away, but like, people, give them a reason to come and see what you're going to be talking about.
Okay, a couple of things I'm going to be talking about. We'll talk about insurance, and we'll talk about coverages that you may or may not have that are the best for you to have if and when you are in a car accident.
Okay.
I'm going to talk a little bit about why people hate attorneys and don't really ever want to get involved with one.
Yeah.
And I'm going to talk a little bit about, I lost my train of thought.
That's okay. That's all right.
I know. What's that?
I said, we don't want to tell them everything, no?
I was just going to say, like, the most important things to do when you have been involved in a car crash.
I think that's really
caused it or not. Right. Yeah.
I think that's really important. What to do. Like, remember, and probably still have them, but I've got a couple. So every time I've gotten a new driver in my house, which means I'm going to need another one soon, because my daughter turns 16 next week. And she's procrastinating on getting her driver's license, but that's a whole nother problem. And I am not really in a hurry for her to get it, to be honest. But I love the little registration holder card things that you have, that you've given out in the past, because just the steps and all the things. So my son has one, my husband has one, he'll ignore it, but it's there. I even gave one to my son's girlfriend when she got her new car. I have my moments. I have to be nice sometimes. Yes. Oh my gosh. So I love it. Before we wrap up, obviously, I want to let everyone know that we would love to have you visit us. We meet Thursday mornings, kind of around 7:30. We have open networking, and then we start promptly at 8 a.m. Gretchen does not mess around with timing. 8 a.m. No, I'm just kidding. I'm only saying that because you're on here.
We ring a bell, we get started. It's very old school.
At 8 a.m. Yeah, very old school. And then we have networking at the end. Gretchen said we do allow 2 businesses per industry. And if you have questions, you can go to our website, reach out to us via email, leave a comment on this video wherever you're seeing it. We'd be happy to respond and let you know if there's a spot open, or just come visit us. We're not going to make you leave if you come and there's 2 of your industry there. If you'd like more information, you can find it on our website, which is brightonbusinessbuilders.org. So visit that. And then Gretchen, to wrap us up just a little bit, what's one piece of advice that you'd throw out there for business owners or entrepreneurs that's trying to get in the world?
I think that quality life is so important. I feel like Joe and I have worked really hard to maintain a quality of life and separate from business, but going out on his own was to create the quality of life. But at the same time, you can get drawn back super easily. So just being really mindful, not only on a personal level, but on a marriage level as well. We do work together, and it's super important to maintain kind of silos of when you're working, and when you're home with your family. It's not saying that you can't talk about work, but it can bleed over so easily, because you can just say, hey, oh, did you know this, or did you know this, or so and so did this, or so and so did this. And what I find is it kind of in one ear and out the other. And if you keep it separate, it makes everybody a lot happier.
Yeah.
Just trying to maintain the quality of life and your personal life, and then your professional life. Because you don't call your boss, right? Just because I'm married to Joe, I don't call my boss every 10 minutes. If it's not Joe, say, hey, did you hear this, or did you hear that? So keep things separate so that keeps us happier.
Yeah, that's good advice. Just the recognizing the quality of life thing too, as a recovering workaholic and not recovering very well. I can understand exactly what you're saying. It's easy to blur those lines. And so I can imagine my husband and I have worked together, but not always at like a part-time job when we were younger, like never like ran a business together. I could see very easily how those lines could get crossed at home if you're not careful.
Yeah. I think also Joe's very good about keeping work at work. And even though he has a home office here, when it can get a little bit kind of fuzzy,
Yeah.
we have dogs that bark, and he gets very annoyed at them when they interrupt his calls. So maybe don't have dogs either if you have a home office. That